Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome and welcome back to my channel, Bareface Diamond. My name is Ezra if you are new here. And in today's video, I want to briefly talk to you about this book right here, Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. Now, as you know, I started this channel. I should say the foundation of this channel is based on emotional healing. And I have gone through a healing journey. I'm still going through that healing journey. And then there's certain things that I'm still working on emotionally that I have to deal with. And we will talk about that in another video. But this is one of the books that got me started on my healing journey. Emotionally Healthy Spirituality, the updated edition by Peter Scazzero. Now, if I can find, I'm going to find a picture of the original book online and I'll put it in here somewhere. I did read that as well, but it didn't click with me at all. I read it from cover to cover. As a matter of fact, it was brought to my attention years ago by Dr. R.A. Vernon from Word Church. I don't know if he's in Cleveland or Cincinnati, but I know he's in Ohio. He mentioned it in one of his sermons way back then, and I went on ahead and bought the book, and I was reading the book, and it just didn't hit at all. It did not hit at all. But in 2017, I believe, yeah, 2017, we were leadership at the church that I was attending at the time decided to go through this because we were going through a lot. 2016 was the year of the bishopric where our church pastor uh, was ordained as a bishop. So we were doing a lot during that time, but there were some things behind scenes that many of us were not aware of, and it didn't come to fruition until 2017. So at that time in 2017, a lot of people left the church due to this situation going on, and to work together to become one church again, the leadership decided for us to go through this. Now, this book has a workbook. I believe there's a Bible study. There are some video sessions, Bible study sessions. It also has a day-to-day book. I just got this. The leaders got the video sessions or the paper, the other documentations that go with this. And unfortunately, we never finished this. I can't remember which chapter we stopped on, but we never finished this book, per usual. However, in 2018, I picked this book up again and I began to read it. Um, but I wasn't really serious. I just knew at that time something was going on with me mentally and emotionally that just wasn't jiving at all. But I picked this up and I started reading it and then put it back down. I picked it up again in 2019. I was reading it, put it back down. And then in 2020, I picked it up. I believe it was July 2020, and I started reading it. And I said to myself, this time I'm going to read it past chapter 7. I think there are 9 chapters in this book, 8 chapters in this book. So I was going to read to chapter 8. So basically, finish the book. And I don't think I did. No, I believe I did. But it wasn't until 2021, once I started therapy, that I got back into this book and I took it very seriously in 2021. So much so that I read this book every year at the end of the year. So somewhere around November, December of every single year since 2021, I read this book. And I read this book to see if there's any other areas, or I should say, at the time that I began to read this book towards the end of the year, there have been areas that God has made plain to me that I still need to work on. So, for example, yesterday He made it plain to me that I still need to um, work on my emotion as it relates to my father. Father's Day is coming up. My father is deceased. He's been deceased for 6 years, and in my entire life that he was alive, he died before I turned 45. He was only in my life for 2 of those 45 years. He was only in my life consistently for 2 of those 45 years. So the things that a lot of young ladies, a lot of women have with their fathers, their daddy daughter dance and all that type of stuff, I never experienced it. So when I see things like that, I do get a little envious. I do get a little jealous, but not so much that it takes me over. It's just something that I never had that I wish I could understand how that feels. And yesterday, God let me know that I'm still dealing with that. And I was honest with God and I told him, I don't know if I'm going to ever heal from that. I don't know. I would hope so, but I don't know. As of right now, I just don't know. So that's something that I know I have to deal with. So eventually, at the end of this year, November or December, I will pick this book up and we'll begin to see if there's something in this book as I read it that can help me deal with that. Now, I know you're saying, well, why would you wait to the end of the year? Because that's when I read this book. That's when I have scheduled myself to read this book towards the end of the year, because when I go into the new year, I want to already have been working on what I need to correct for the new year. So, for example, again, last year, when I read this, the one thing that I needed to work on was my perfectionism, and that is something that was mentioned in this book in a slight way. Um, so that's what I'm working on. But I'm gonna open it so you all can see. So again, this is Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. This is the updated edition by Peter Cesaro. And you see, I have 2020 in here. This is when I really started getting into it, but I did again didn't really get into it like I did afterwards. But I have three favorite chapters in this book: chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 7, for various reasons. As you can see, I'm a highlight queen, underline queen, almost every page of this book. Um, Almost every single page of this book. Let me go straight to chapter 3. And typically what I do is like this year, when I go through this book, I'm gonna use a different pen and a different highlighter, and I will at the beginning of the chapter write the date in the color pen I'm going to be using, as well as highlight the date so I know what color highlighter I'm going to be using for that year. But as I was originally doing this, I was picking up whatever pen that was in front of me. So this is chapter 3, going back in order to go forward. You could tell this is one of my favorite chapters because it's just written all over the place. Now, I wrote this January 18th, 2018. Let go of the excess emotional weight and the excess physical weight. Okay. So all of this, so me, all of this. Okay. This was all me. All right. All of this was all me. Okay. This here is the 10 Commandments of the family. Anywhere where you see where I have highlighted in orange, these were either issues or things that we either did or didn't do as I was growing up in the household. And these were all negative things. Okay. One of the things that I was taught to avoid conflict at all costs, which meant I don't want to start no argument. And part of that was because of how, when I grew up in a household where there was always arguing in the house. So because I didn't want to deal with that, I would avoid it. um I was too I didn't want to get people mad at me, so I became a people pleaser. Loud, angry, and constant fighting is normal. This is something that is normal in my family, but it's not normal where people, they can't even hold a conversation, a normal conversation like I'm having with you all right now. It has to be extra loud. Like you got to put that extra treble and that extra bass in it because you want to be heard, but at the same time, you don't realize that not only are you drowning out yourself, but you're drowning out everybody else because all everybody else hears is anger and frustration. And what they don't realize that they're also hearing is hurt. And you can't recognize that until you begin healing for yourself. So all of this I had to deal with, and I look, and I think it was more than this that I wrote in my journal that I still have. So that was a favorite chapter of mine. If you are not ready to heal, do not touch this book. Do not touch this book. Don't play. Do not play. Don't placate yourself. Excuse me. Just don't. Wait until you know for a fact that you are ready to heal to touch this book. Chapter 4, Journey Through the Wall. It's time to go through the wall. So it was time for me to go through all these walls, these barriers that I pulled up, that I put up in front of myself to keep people from getting close to me and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I went through it, y'all. I went through this book page by page. I went through it, and I go through it every single year. That was chapter 4. Let's go to chapter 7. And of course, whenever I have notes, there may be something in the book that I come across and I want to look it up online, and I will do that. So I'll have extra paper. And this was done October 18, 2020. And then I'll put it on extra paper and I'll just put it in the book, just like that. The next chapter, I did read that chapter, y'all, just because you don't see any underlines or highlights. Trust me, I did read that chapter. This book taught me that I needed to rest. I needed to rest from work, from hurriedness, multitasking, worry, decision making, catching up on errands, and rest on technology, cell phones, TV, computer, social media. It taught me that I needed to rest, that I needed to rest my mind. I needed to rest my body. I needed to rest my eyes. I needed to rest everything, rest from work, just rest. Stop always thinking that you have to be productive. Sometimes, most of the times, sitting down and resting your body is being productive. Because if you don't take the time out to rest your body is going to shut down on you. Chapter 7, grow into an emotionally mature adult. So this is my other favorite chapter because this is the chapter that teaches you where you are. Are you an emotional infant, an emotional child, an emotional adolescent, or emotional adult? Every single time I took this, I landed at emotional adolescent. But when I redid it in November 2024, I was now moved up to an emotional adult. Some of the things that an emotional adolescent does is tend to often be defensive, alarmed by criticism, keep score of what they give so they can ask for something in return, deal with conflict poorly, often blaming, appeasing, going to a third party, pouting, or ignoring the issue entirely, become preoccupied with themselves, have a great difficulty truly listening to another person's pain, disappointments, or needs, are critical and judgmental. That last one was me all day, y'all. Me all day. But I was an emotional adolescent. Now I'm the complete opposite. I'm an emotional adult. And I'm so proud of myself for all of that. If you are not ready to heal, do not touch this book. I'm being serious. Do not touch this book if you are not ready to heal. I'm gonna show you what this. I'm gonna read to you what this note is because I forget what page it was on, but I know it was in the front. It was right here. So this note is what I wrote November 3rd. It says the behaviors we learn from our families as children are the same behaviors we walk with and use in our lives daily. We repeat or mimic what we see and or hear as children, not understanding the possible negative effects it will have on us. It will have on us the rest of our lives. Negative experiences and behaviors equal negative realities, reactions, and responses. So that's a note that I created November 3rd, 2025, after reading this here. Again, I wasn't thinking this the first or second or third time I read this book, but when I read it in 2025, this is what I came up with because I paid attention to myself. I looked at my own healing journey. I've been paying attention to other people. I have been watching their non-healing journeys, and this is what I came up with. So if you're not ready to heal, don't get this book. Seriously, don't even waste your time. If you are ready to heal, I would still say to you, go to God on it, pray to God, ask God to direct you, and He will. Don't force yourself to get something that you know you're not ready for, because what I don't want you to do is to sit here and tell yourself that you're ready to heal. You go get this book and then you get mad and toss the book and say it didn't do anything for you. And I will tell you the reason it won't do anything for you is because you're not ready to heal. You are basing your ability to heal off of what you're hearing me say or what you're hearing somebody else say. And you cannot do that. You have to be ready to heal. I cannot stress that enough. That is between you and God when you are ready to heal. But understand, when you are ready to heal, you're going to be walking. You're going to be walking through. He's going to be showing you. And you're going to have to accept the things that God shows you about you and begin to work on changing those things. If God shows you that your attitude is absolutely disgusting, you need to admit that and ask God to help you work on that. If you have an idolatry problem, you need to admit that and allow God to help you work on that. Because the idolatry came from something. It didn't just pop up. It came from something. Like a lot of us have this thing where we want to show somebody else up by the way we look. Where did that come from? Who are you competing with? God did not create us to compete with each other. He created us to love each other. Who are you competing with? Where did that spirit come from? So you have to really be ready to start healing to get this book. Because I don't want to hear nobody say, I got that book and it didn't do nothing for me. That means you were not ready to heal and you didn't take this book seriously. This book is serious for people. This book is for people who are serious about healing. Straight up. Serious about healing. And with that, if you want me to go in detail about the Ten Commandments, or if you want me to go more in detail about the emotional child, adolescent, children, and adult, as far as it relates to me, just drop it down below and I will be happy to do that. Until then, I'll see you in another video. Bye.